Ohio State finally has a breather from the roster management season. Well, kind of, but a big part of the reason is going to join us right here on the podcast daily to start the week. Former Kansas State quarterback, new Buckeyes quarterback Will Howard will join us, Bill Landis, Jeremy Birmingham, and me, Austin Ward. And let's do that right now. Okay, Will Howard is here. Welcome to Columbus. Welcome to Ohio State. Will, what's it like living in the portal? What a weird experience that's got to be.
Man, it's crazy, especially right now. And it was a long drawn out process, but I wanted to make sure I took my time with it and ended up where I was meant to be. And I think I truly did. And I think I feel really, really good about where I'm at now. And I mean, when I came across the opportunity to play quarterback at Ohio State, it's hard to turn down. And I'm really blessed to be able to have this position, be in this position that I'm in, and have this opportunity. The portal's crazy, but I kept trying to tell myself, it's a good problem to have. It's stressful, it's a lot, but it was all good options that I had. So trying to take it with a grain of salt and be appreciative for it.
Well, Will, those walls are looking a little bare. Have you had time to even settle in at all here? What's the process
Barely.
been like? Yeah.
Yeah, I still not really like enrolled in school yet. They're still kind of trying to process all my paperwork and get everything through. I just moved in on Wednesday. I drove out here from the Philly area. It's like 6.5 hours. It wasn't bad. Yeah, so the walls are pretty bare here, but I guess I got time, so we'll work on that.
Hey, Will, when you made the decision to go into the portal, I was reading through your message, and you sort of, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth here, but you made a mention of wanting to explore all of your options, and I'm wondering if the NFL was a part of that, and if you sought out any kind of feedback from that area as you also tried to weigh the college options that were going to be available to you, and kind of how you balanced all of that as you went through the process.
Yeah. Honestly, when I first entered the portal, I really didn't even think I was going to go to another school. I was pretty sure I was going to go to the NFL. Um, and the draft was a really high option for me. I was getting a lot of feedback, third to probably fifth round grades. And I felt like my talent was better than that. And I thought, if I can go somewhere where I feel like I can improve my draft stock, then it's a no-brainer because I still have goals, that I want to accomplish in college. Winning a national championship, that I didn't really get to do at Kansas State. And I wanted to, in terms of when I entered the portal, what I was looking for was somewhere where I feel like I can truly increase my draft stock and somewhere where I can compete for a national championship. And those were really the two things. And it aligned perfectly here at Ohio State. So, I mean, when I went into it, like I was thinking NFL. It was down to the wire. It was really probably Ohio State or the NFL. A couple of days before I announced, I got a Senior Bowl invite from Jim Nagy, which was a huge honor. Really, a good option. But I couldn't turn down this opportunity, and I felt like it was in my gut and my heart of hearts, like this is where I wanted to be, and I'm completely at peace with my decision. And you know, I told Jim, I said, "Hey, I'll see you down there next year, but it's not this year."
It's sort of interesting. Well, a lot of guys they make the decision to get into the transfer portal, and then it's rush into the next decision. It almost went like a hurry up and wait. You enter the portal. There's a conversation about the NFL. There's a visit to USC, a visit to Miami relatively quickly, and then you sort of faded into obscurity for 3 weeks, and you let things play out. And obviously, they ended up with you in Columbus. But what did it mean to you that, like, you, a kid who was like, I think the 64th ranked quarterback in the country or something stupid coming out of high school, you enter the portal and you have Lincoln Riley and Ryan Day, who are the two foremost quarterback developers in the country in college football, calling you to say, we want you to be the quarterback at our school. And, you're talking about developing yourself for the next level and preparing yourself for that next opportunity. Did it ever cross your mind that those two schools, those two offenses, those two quarterback coaches would be reaching out to you?
Yeah, that was a cool experience. Like, as like I was saying, as stressful and as much work as the portal was, I tried to kind of pinch myself and sit back and really appreciate what it was. That the top some of the top coaches in the country are coming and calling, and it was truly like a blessing, and I was it kind of felt good, to feel like my work had paid off, and I felt like when I went to Kansas State, I thought I was really under recruited in high school, and I was raw when I first came out, and it took me a little bit to develop when I was at Kansas State. But it was really cool to kind of feel that love from the coaches and feel like my work has truly paid off um, in this process. And at times I had to pinch myself, like is this really happening? Just a kid from from little old Kansas State, getting to play on the biggest stages in college football. It was a blessing, but and getting to meet all those coaches, all the opportunities that I had were great. I really couldn't have gone wrong with anything that I decided. But I think being here at Ohio State is without a doubt where I need to be and where I want to be.
So, Will, when you are making that decision, how much of you look at the current roster, who the weapons you might have, how much does that play into your mind? And then you watch, maybe you make your decision a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and then suddenly there's a flood of guys who could have been in similar spots as you going to the NFL. You have Emeka Ibuka coming back. You have Travion Henderson coming back. On the defensive side of the ball, it's virtually everybody with JT and Jack and on down the road. I would imagine that was like, you may have known maybe some of it was coming, maybe you didn't, but it had to be exciting as a new quarterback to see how many guys want to stay part of this and put off the NFL for 2024 to accomplish what you're talking about, one of your main goals of winning a national championship.
Yeah, it was. I mean, through my process, obviously I was asking what the roster was going to look like, who was going to be around me, and I think everywhere I looked had good pieces, but I think the roster here at Ohio State is, on paper, one of the, if not the best in the country, and it was just like thing after thing just kept happening. Obviously, Coach Day wanted me to talk to those guys, try and get them to come back. But I really didn't have to do much convincing. All of them, wanted to come back and wanted to do this thing again. And that was really cool for me to see as a guy coming in who doesn't know much about the culture at Ohio State yet. I'm still kind of getting acclimated, but just seeing how many guys are bought into this and aren't ready to leave yet because they feel like we still have more to accomplish. That's really cool, and that's something I wanted to be a part of, and that's something I was looking for when I was in the portal. And I'm thankful that I ended up in the right place.
Well, I think even the most successful Ohio State quarterbacks would tell you that it's not an easy place to play. There's a lot of scrutiny on the position, a lot of expectations, and you're stepping into a situation where the program is really hungry to win another Big Ten championship, to obviously beat Michigan again, and to win that national championship you're talking about. Um, why take on those expectations? What do you think it is about yourself that allows you to kind of handle everything that's going to come with being Ohio State's starting quarterback?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've a lot of people have said that to me. The pressure. You got all these expectations, and I feel like at the end of the day, I love that. I kind of that I thrive on that kind of stuff. When I went into Kansas State, I was under recruited. Wasn't really expected to do much. I ended up winning a backup spot my freshman year. My first 2 years didn't go very well. I got recruited over. They took a transfer quarterback. I had to win a job basically, and it wasn't an easy road for me there. Obviously, I know that the stakes are 10 times higher here. But through all those, kind of trials and tribulations at Kansas State that I went through, I feel like I developed a real hard head, and I had to develop kind of this internal confidence that can't really be shaken by what people have to say about me. And I think over the years I've learned a lot and I've matured a ton, and I was ready for this opportunity and for this challenge, because it is a challenge. I know that being the quarterback at Ohio State comes with a lot of expectations, and the first of those beating the team up north and winning every single game and winning a national championship. Like, the stakes are high, but I wouldn't want it any other way. I feel like I kind of thrive on those kind of expectations and being kind of an underdog and not really being expected anything of. That's kind of who I am, and I wouldn't want it any other way.
Well, you and I had spoken about a week and a half ago about getting you on the show, and you said you wanted to wait until you had an opportunity to get to Columbus and meet your teammates, and which I applaud. I think it's smart. It's not about you at this point anymore. It's now you're one part of this team that's trying to win a national title. Now that you've met people in Columbus, you've been around. Is it like going to prison where you have to find like the biggest guy and punch him in the face, or do you just like find someone to hang out with because you don't know anyone? Like, how did the first couple of days of meeting the team go? And do you start to understand quickly what that culture is? Because as you said, you're not really familiar with Ohio State that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different process. It's kind of, I haven't really done this whole, integrating into a new system since I was a freshman, an 18-year-old kid. So I'm coming into it with a different, mindset and attitude, and I'm excited about it. But it is a challenge getting to know everyone, rebuilding all those relationships. When you're out of place for 4 years, you get kind of comfortable in that way. So I think it's a cool challenge for me to kind of get to know everybody. And yeah, I wanted to make sure, nobody got any ideas of me from something they saw online or anything. I wanted to make sure that, I got around them, and obviously I still haven't met everyone because we really haven't started any mandatory workouts. They don't start till Tuesday. It's been kind of on our own, just discretionary stuff, but I've gotten to meet some of the guys and hopefully look forward to meeting some more and just kind of getting integrated into the system and feeling my way through it because, I had talked to Emeka and Travion and a couple of the guys, before I had gotten here. But it was good to finally meet them all in person. And, I'm still very early on. I still don't know that many people that well, but, I'm looking forward to building those relationships because, in my experience, that's the most important thing is that locker room and making sure that, everybody's moving the same way for their same cause and the relationships come first.
Will, there's been some debate on the podcast daily about whose game we should compare you to. And I'm not going to mention any of the names specifically, but if you are evaluating yourself, who do you see in your game or who do you try to model your game after?
I think with my frame and
Don't do it. Don't do it.
I'm sure you guys have been talking about it, but I think Josh Allen.
Okay.
That's kind of what I put in my head.
Okay. Why is that?
I think he's a dude with a rifle of an arm. He's super accurate. Obviously I think that's my best attribute is probably my arm and throwing the ball. But, I think something I can also do is run, for how big I am and using my size to my advantage in the run game. I had to do that a lot at Kansas State. I don't know how much, that I didn't want that to be like my number one thing. And that was kind of a big reason, Kansas State wanted to go in that way. And they really like having running quarterbacks. And I can run, I like to run. That's a big part of my game, but, I don't think it's my strong suit necessarily. So I think having a good balance of both of those is great. And I think this was a place that I saw myself fitting into the offense, being able to extend plays with my legs and make some QB runs when I need to, but, being able to be in a pro style offense and sling it around too.
Well, I don't know how much time you spend on social media, but I'm wondering if you're aware of the phenomenon of people being obsessed with who you follow on Instagram and how it like tips the hand of what's happening with Ohio State's roster. If everyone was keyed in on you following all the Ohio State guys before he committed and then following Quinshawn before he committed. I'm wondering if you've thought of messing with people at all, just like randomly following people across college football to get everyone into a tizzy on social media.
It's crossed my mind. I thought about just doing that and starting to mess with people with it, but no, that was I mean, I'm not on Twitter or anything anymore. I got on there to announce my thing and then I got off. But I've been told that people were just hawking my my followers on Instagram. I was like, man, kind of weird, but all right.
Just follow like I don't know, Follow who's the best? Follow like Justin Jefferson and see if that gets people thinking that he's going to
Yeah, yeah,
play for Ohio State.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
the microscope of Ohio State, Will. I mean, that is something that I think that you will notice quickly, and it takes time to adjust to. But there are other things you have to adjust to, like campus at Ohio State and finding a place to eat that you like in Columbus. What have you discovered in the short time you've been in Columbus that's become your go-to or the kind of place where you're like, hey, I need to go back to this place because it's the only place I've been?
I mean, in my short time here, I haven't gone many places. I'm living here at the View, and I went. The one thing that I don't have to put into my GPS now is getting to the Woody. I know how to get to the Woody from the View, and that's about it. Other than that, I have to put it into my GPS. But I've gone to a couple. There's like a Buffalo Wild Wings right across the street. I don't know. There's a ton of good food here. I went to my mom was in town. She took me to a Barrios Tacos or something. I thought that was pretty good. And then, yeah, I'm kind of still finding my way around, but the Woody, that's the spot.
Don't feel bad about using your GPS, okay? Number one, it tells you when there's traffic, which is important.
Exactly.
Number two, it tells you if there's an accident and directs you in a faster route. I'm in Columbus all the time, and I still use it even when I go from Austin's house to the Woody, and I've done that 17,000 times.
Yeah.
The crazy thing is, Will, he still doesn't know how to get there without it, and he gets lost multiple times. Anyway, we're going to let you go, but Bill has a very important question about the Birds.
Oh, man, let's hear it.
Well, you're a Birds fan, right?
Big time.
Okay. So we're just going to run on Monday, or one are they going to win on Monday night?
I pray I think they will. I think they will.
Okay. And two, just like generally, like what's up with them? Like why is it gone sideways a little bit this year? It's frustrating for me.
I was sitting there last weekend with my uncles watching that Giants game, and I was like, what is going on, man? And we're all like super big Eagles fans, and I don't know. I mean, I felt like something was up kind of all year behind the scenes. I don't know what was going on, but they're not the team that everybody kind of thought they were, I guess. But I'm praying that they can pull it together in the playoffs. I don't know. I think Jalen Hurts, he'll be fine. He'll figure it out. I think.
I hope so. I hope so.
I hope so too. Believe me, I'm the pessimistic Eagles fan too. So
yeah.
Is there another kind?
Yeah, it's in our blood.
We make them one way. That's it.
Have you ever thrown batteries at Santa Claus or anything like that? We just
come on, man.
With.
No.
That's good. They phased that out. They got tired of that being the reputation in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's right.
We'll have time for a lot more of that. We'll hope to. We're going to hear a lot more from Will Howard as the year goes on. Winter workouts ramping up for you to get started, Will, and mat drills, and then spring ball there in March. So looking forward to having an opportunity to cover you moving forward. We appreciate you spending some time with us on the podcast daily, and congratulations on, again, your decision and arriving in Columbus.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having me on, man. Go Bucks.
All right, though. So that was the highlight of Ohio State's roster management work, but there's still been a lot more. We talked about this last Monday, Bill, that, boy, the picture has changed quickly for the Buckeyes. And then that week went on, and they still got like basically nothing but good news. If you want to say that Marvin Harrison Jr. declaring for the draft was a little bit bad, well, I would understand, but it wasn't a surprise. But the Buckeyes maintained that momentum that we talked about a week ago, and that was I think it's worth reiterating. That was a huge week for the program.
Yeah, it was. I mean, especially, and I would put myself in this camp. It felt like the offseason was sort of slow to develop for Ohio State, both in terms of personnel stuff and staff stuff. And some of the staff stuff is obviously still ongoing. But for all those player decisions to happen like in such quick succession, for it to be basically nothing but good news, I think was a reminder of one, like, maybe when I say we, I include myself, should have a little more patience sometimes when evaluating off seasons and wanting instant gratification. I know I struggle with that when trying to, analyze where Ohio State's going. So now that we're kind of on the other side of at least the player side of it, and maybe there's a transfer addition or two to come, or perhaps after the spring, like I don't think Ohio State really could be any better position than it is with getting a bunch of guys who are going to be like at worst second, third, fourth round NFL draft picks are all now coming back. Some of them to make themselves first round draft picks, but even if they don't, Ohio State's going to have maybe the most talented roster in college football next year, and that's a reason for everybody to be really excited.
It's also, as you watch on over the weekend, Michigan had their parade and their big hullabaloo inside of Chrysler Arena, and all their fans like pumping themselves up to expect Saturday night to be the moment that JJ McCarthy and Jim Harbaugh stand on stage next to each other and kiss each other on the cheek and say, "We're coming back. We're doing this again." And then, like, whoops, none of that happened. As we record this on Sunday, JJ McCarthy has not yet made his announcement, but it seems like he's heading off to the NFL. The Washington coaching staff and roster being torn apart. Like, you look ahead and you see what has happened for Ohio State in the last week, and you start to look at the Big Ten in 2024, and it looks like Ohio State and Oregon are in position to really be the teams to watch, despite the fact that Michigan just won a national title and Washington played in the national title game. So, like, there's a lot of good things happening, and Ryan Day has a couple key pieces to figure out still, and I think that that's coming in these next week or two. But the coaches were back on the road recruiting on Friday. Like, they added a 5-star commitment a week ago from Devin Sanchez in the class of 2025. Got good news, it seems, coming soon from Carter Lowe in Toledo, offensive lineman who's like priority 1 in that class, as 4 different assistant coaches went to visit him on Friday. And now he says he's within a week or 2 of making a decision. Like, there's a lot of positive things happening, and it is easy to get frustrated and irritated in December after a week after you lost a game. But these things take time, and they are seemingly unfolding in a way that is very, very good for the Buckeyes.
That coaching piece is obviously the next step here for Ryan Day, looking for an offensive coordinator, and then finding that last spot potentially on defense, however they want to use that. Is worth pointing out as well, James Laurinaitis was on the road, but that is a temporary arrangement. I know some of you are already aware that can happen, and that coaching staffs, when they are a man short, can elevate people into that role. It does not necessarily mean that James is definitely going to be promoted to a full-time role. It is an option, as we've laid out some of the 2 tracks that where Ohio State could go with a second defensive line coach, or if that does not work out in a way that they feel really comfortable about with a future transition plan for Larry Johnson, could still make James Laurinaitis the full-time linebackers coach. But that him going on the road does not mean that decision has been made at this point.
Right.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, I mean, even I was like, oh, James Laurinaitis is on the road. I wonder what that means, and I had to stop myself from going too far down the road with that. But yeah, it's worth pointing out it's not even a loophole. It's just a way for staffs to make themselves whole when they're not. But I mean, good experience for James, and maybe he'll make a little bit of an impact while he's able to do that.
I mean, he wasted no time. He went to Cincinnati and saw Justin Hill, the top edge player in the state in the class of 2025. Ohio State this weekend hosted Dominic Kirks, the 2024 defensive lineman who just decommitted from Washington on Friday night. Like, probably expect to see him making a decision to join the Ohio State recruiting class shortly. Like, there's a lot of good things going on, and I think that people should be thrilled.
Was that a bold P, or were you saying
as far as I know, they haven't offered him a scholarship yet, but you're not bringing him in for that official visit. It really was more of an interview session, I think, a 48-hour interview. And I would imagine that ends with him ending up at Ohio State. Otherwise, it's sort of weird to have him come take an official visit 2 weeks before the signing period.
So still some irons in the fire in terms of roster management. That work is not done. It really never ends in college football anymore. But it was great to have one new member of the Ohio State roster join us on the podcast daily to start this week off right on a Monday. Thanks to Will Howard for joining us. Thanks to Bill Landis and Jeremy Birmingham for the great insight. I am just Austin Ward. We'll talk to you later.